Noche Embrujada, your channel of real horror stories. Good evening everyone, and today's story is, The Werewolf That Escaped from the Police Station. And now let's get to today's story, which is about a military policeman, and it happened to him in the city of Hortolândia, which is in Brazil, and at that time, which was in 2015, this military policeman was 35 years old. And before I start my story, I'm already going to warn you that I'm a policeman to this day, but I'm not going to identify myself because of my profession, which is very strict with this type of supernatural occurrence. And today I'm going to talk about a dangerous occurrence I made, but something mysterious happened, and I was faced with a werewolf. And it all starts like this. At the time, I was working the night shift, and I was driving around with my police partner in a few neighborhoods in the city. But one day, we were doing a patrol at around 10 o'clock at night, and we had to investigate a situation involving an old man who wore a bag on his back, and that he went into the woods almost every day. And some people had even seen this guy naked at dawn in the middle of the woods. We then took a police car to the area where the old suspect had been, but we didn't find anyone. After a while, the police radio called us to say that the old man had been reported and that he was in a nearby neighborhood. So we went there and turned off the police car's siren so that we wouldn't be seen. And soon we arrived at a place where there were a lot of dirt roads and some farms, and it was an isolated place, with dark streets, and for us police officers, when it's an occurrence with a suspected maniac, our commitment is even greater, because the lives of innocent people are at risk from these types of crazy people. However, it turned out that we were lucky in our search, because after 15 minutes at the indicated location, we found this suspicious old man on one of those dark roads, and of course, we stopped the car right there and got out of the vehicle. Then we ordered this suspicious old man to put his hands on his head, and we pointed the gun at him and started to search the guy. And to our amazement, we saw that his white beard was fake, and he was also wearing a hat, which we were sure was to make it difficult to identify him, and to our surprise, when we opened the guy's bag, inside there were other changes of clothes for walkers, and even some wigs. And this suspect was around 35 years old. But the fact is, this guy was undocumented, so as we couldn't find out who he was, we took him to the police station to see if we could get any information about him, perhaps from his fingerprint. Well, we put this man in handcuffs in the back of our car, and we drove to the police station. This guy was talking in a desperate way, saying that he needed to talk to someone very quickly, because it would be dangerous for him to be detained, and when we got to the police station, he wouldn't be able to stay there for long. But we didn't care what he said. After a while, we arrived at the police station, and what we did was that my partner went to the police chief's office to talk to him, and I kept an eye on the suspect as I handcuffed him in the courtyard of the police station. But after about 20 minutes or so, this handcuffed guy started to feel sick and vomit on the floor. This man asked to go to the bathroom, and seeing that he was really feeling ill, and that he was only getting worse, I let him into the bathroom. But he kept making moaning noises of pain. I was startled by this, and I told him to open the door. Then I started to hear some strange growls, and it seemed that the man was also scratching at the door. I started knocking on the door to get the suspect to open it, but this guy, who was trapped in the bathroom, started knocking on the door as well. He was giving strong knocks to get out of the bathroom. I got worried, and thinking that this man was using those noises to try to escape, I started kicking the door, and after a few attempts, I managed to break down the bathroom door, but to my surprise, out came a creature, all black and hairy, and it was standing like a man, and it came at me to attack me. I even put my hand in front of it, so it wouldn't bite me in the face, but with the impact of that beast, which was practically the size of a man, I fell to the ground. But I had a quick reflex, and managed to hold on to the monster's two arms, and it had black hands with very large claw-like nails. Seeing that I was in danger, I started to call for help, but in this fight, With this creature on top of me, I also noticed that this beast was handcuffed, so its attack wasn't very effective against me. At that point, I couldn't get my gun out of its holster, because the monster was going to bite me. Anyway, as I struggled, I got lucky and managed to push that beast back with my legs, so I got out from under it, and I got up quickly and took my gun from my waistband so I could shoot that monster, which seemed to want to kill me, but that werewolf was very clever, because when I looked again, the creature was already on the street in front of the police station and running on 4 legs. I kept watching that animal, but it stood up again, as if it were a person, and by my calculations, that animal was a werewolf, because it had eyes lit up like yellow lights, and its arms were like a man's, but its head was like the head of a monkey or a dog, and its ears were very large, and I will never forget the way it looked, and the attack I suffered, because I was almost massacred by that werewolf. Well, then my partner and our chief of police arrived, and they had their guns in their hands, to see what was going on in the courtyard. I tried to explain to them what had happened, but they didn't understand anything, and the suspect went into the bathroom, and then a creature came out of there. And as we couldn't waste any more time, my partner and I took the car and went after the fugitive or the beast. We made a few waves near the police station, but found nothing. I told my partner what had happened in the police station yard, and that I thought that man in handcuffs had turned into a werewolf inside the bathroom. And with these events of that night, we decided to go to the forest areas, and more precisely to the place where we had caught the suspicious man who had disguised himself as an old man. We stayed up all night chasing this animal, because it could attack people in the streets, but we drove around for a few more hours with the police car, and we couldn't find anything, and when dawn came we went back to the police station. And of course, I got a scolding from the delegate, because of the escape of the suspicious man. And the fact is that the days went by, and there was no news of this guy who turned into a beast. And another thing is that he, or the beast who escaped, was handcuffed. After a few days, when I was chasing the guy who turned into a werewolf, the chief of police suddenly closed the case, and he told me something strange, that in a nearby town, they managed to catch the guy who escaped from our police station. However, my boss said that the policemen who caught this man, they were chasing some strange and large animal, but they didn't find this beast, but the policemen caught a suspicious man, who was without clothes and hiding in the undergrowth. They took the suspect to the police station, but this man had no criminal record, so they released the suspect. I actually looked at the photos of the guy who was captured, and it was the same guy who turned into a werewolf at the police station. After this story, and making the conclusion of what I saw, and that I was face to face with the werewolf, this suspect was certainly the beast. Anyway, years have passed since that werewolf case, and to this day I still look around these woods, and I know that there could be a creature like that hiding there, and be careful, you who live in isolated places, and with lots of woods at night, because people who have seen a werewolf, can use some trick of dressing up, and disguise themselves as a blind man, an old man, a beggar or even something else, then turn into this creature, and you who have seen this animal, will not know who the guy is who turned into a werewolf. And that was my real-life horror story, when I met a werewolf. Thanks for watching my video, and don't forget to like it and subscribe to the channel.